So this is a big story today as well. Stunning new emails are showing that the woman at the center of the IRS targeting scandal was, in fact, specifically scrutinizing conservative groups. Lois Lerner, as you all remember, took the fifth back in May. The House Ways and Means Committee releasing several emails now that were sent by the former director of exempt organizations to her employees. Here's what she wrote in 2011. "The Tea Party matter is very dangerous," she writes. Cincy, reference to the Cincinnati office that we've heard so much about, quote, "should probably not have these cases." She is, of course, referring to that office that was blamed for the scandal. And I'm joined now to talk about this by Julie Roginsky, a former political advisor to Senator Frank Lautenberg, and Katie Pavlich, the news editor at townhall.com. Both are Fox News contributors. Julie, Katie, welcome. Good to have both of you with us.
Good morning.
This
Good to
morning.
be here.
What do you think, Katie, is revealed by these emails?
Well, lots of things. First of all, it reaffirms the lie that this was a local Cincinnati issue when clearly Lois Lerner, who was in charge of the department, was involved here. But I think the key here is looking at the language she uses. She uses a language dangerous in reference to the Tea Party groups. And you also look through these emails and you find that she's using the Tea Party groups as a pawn to try and get a new court case to go up against the Citizens United ruling in 2010, which is a ruling that even President Obama constantly talks about his disdain for. And so it really shows that this wasn't just about simply looking at these groups and the IRS doing their job, as many Democrats on the Oversight Committee have been saying, but really was an issue of seeing these groups as a threat politically and going after them with the IRS power.
Yeah, she does. She talks about the fact that this could end up being the, quote, vehicle to go to court. These Tea Party cases, she's saying, could be the vehicle to go to court to take on the Citizens United issue, as Katie's just pointing out, to get more clarity on the 2010 Supreme Court ruling on campaign finance rules. Julie, what do you think about these emails and what they reveal?
Well, look, I've said for a long time, and it sounds to me like Lois Lerner probably should not have been at her job and should be relieved of her job permanently as soon as she can be. But you know, to say that this had some sort of connection to President Obama, as Katie just implied, I just don't see it. I mean, we've seen no evidence of that, despite these selective leaks that Darrell Issa, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, has persistently leaked. There really has not been any connection at all to anybody in this administration, in the White House specifically. So what I'd like to see, actually, and I've said this for months now, is an independent prosecutor who can go in and look at this matter. Somebody who is not affiliated with a political agenda, as I think Chairman Issa is, and somebody that can get to the bottom of exactly what happened. It sounds like Democrats are claiming, and other emails have shown, that not just Tea Party groups, but progressive groups were also targeted. Republicans refute that because of the selective emails that they've leaked. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get an independent prosecutor, and let's just get to the bottom of this once and for all.
Let's take a look at one of these other emails. And I should point out that this email that's from 2012 came out after this sort of started to come out. There was a hearing in Congress when we sort of got an inkling that there was an issue here, but before the whole thing kind of blew up. And here's what Lois Lerner says in this one. She says, "It is what it is. Although the original story isn't as pretty as we'd like, once we learned that we were off track, we have done what we could to change the process, better educate our staff, and move the cases. So we will get dinged on this," she says, "but we took steps before the dinging to make things better and have written procedures." So she's suggesting here, Katie, that, you know, that they sort of got wind that some of these employees were doing this incorrectly, and that they took measures to fix that situation, and that, you know, they have to take their licks in the matter, but that's the way it is.
Right, but that goes back to the argument from Lois Lerner and all of her people in D.C. blaming some type of low-level employees for the scandal and for the targeting. When you go back to Lois Lerner's history, not only at the IRS, but her work with the FEC to target conservative groups like Americans for Prosperity, and her own you know, we've had people come out who are running for office saying that she initially almost bribed them in order to have them drop out of the race when she was in power at the FEC. And so for her to, again, go back to this low-level employee argument isn't true. And she's also forgetting that former IRS Commissioner Douglas Shulman, who visited the White House 150-plus times, I might add, during his tenure at the IRS, he lied about this. He testified before Congress about this in May of 2012 and said nothing at all is going on, when we know for years it was going on, this targeting.
There's another email where she says perhaps the FEC will save the day in a battle between the FEC and the tax-exempt Tea Party groups in this case. So we'll see what is you know, stirred up by all of this and where it goes from here. Thank you, Julie. Thank you,
so
Katie.
much.
See you next
Thanks.
time.
Bye.